Okay, what's up, everybody? Today I thought it would probably be a good idea to go through the creative glitch Jenny percent run and kind of give a bit of background as to what's happening. Um, it is a very convoluted run and it looks absolutely ridiculous. So I wanted to give a bit of a breakdown as to what's happening and maybe help you understand it a little bit better. It is a straight 5 minutes and 5.5 minutes of just glitches. Um, and I'll kind of go over how we think they work and all of that, and it'll hopefully be a good time. So we'll go and start the video. I am going to have it muted, by the way, and you'll also notice that I am recording this. This video was recorded in 720p. So I do that for a deliberate reason, and that's because I'm lagging my computer on purpose. I have a few Chrome tabs open on my other monitor. They're just open to like YouTube or something, and yeah, so that'll be important in a second. The first thing we normally look for is spawn location. I'll get to that in a second, but we're going to get out of the life pod first. In order to get out of the life pod, we need to do two things. I need to basically craft the cure so I don't have to do it later. And then I want to also get some flares. Now, there are two flares in this locker. And you notice that when I leave, I open the locker and then click on the hatch down here. And this sets up a glitch called ghost storage. Basically, what's happening there is whenever I open the life pod locker, the game opens the PDA and sets the target of the PDA to be the life pod locker. So when the PDA opens, you can see inside the life pod locker. But when you leave before the PDA opens, well, the PDA's target never actually resets from the life pod locker. So it's the next time you open the PDA, the target's still going to be the life pod locker. So I can use that to grab the flares out of it while I'm falling down. So we're going to open this hatch and we're going to see our spawn location. Now, spawn location is a very hard thing to kind of get in your head. Obviously, I've done thousands of attempts, tens of thousands of attempts in this game, and I pretty much know the shallows in and out at this point. But that's definitely something that beginners struggle with. I made a whole video on it. I'll probably include it in like the iCard. But I'll go over creative any percent spawn. So I want to basically go over the goals. What are we trying to accomplish with the spawn? So in this case, we need to get down to the primary containment facility down here. And you notice that it overlaps with the shallows quite a bit. And I'll also draw your attention to this image. So everywhere in this green area in the shallows is going to be spawnable area. This is directly from the game's code. We had one of the developers pull it out for us. Basically, how the game determines the spawn is it generates a random pixel on the entire map and checks if it's spawnable. And if it is, it will spawn you there. It does that 1,000 times, and then if it doesn't get one, it just sets you at 000. So that's how the game determines spawn. Anyways, so we need a spawn in this southern area, specifically around here. And the reason for that, if we go back to our map and go to lava lakes, you can see that the bottom section of, where is it? This is about the bottom section of the shallows down here. That puts us right in the lava lakes, right next to the primary containment facility. And that's going to be perfect. And the reason we can't take a spawn like up here, for example, is because of the jelly shroom cave. The jelly shroom cave will get in the way of a lot of them. So, with that out of the way, where is our spawn? Our spawn's about, say about here. I like my spawns usually to be here, but this was okay. You can see I waste a few seconds at the start moving over to a better spot in order to drop. But nonetheless, it was still pretty good. So now we'll go over the next section. I built this base piece. I'll get into that a little bit more. And then we're going to do a glitch called screenshot clip. So that's the reason I'm lagging my computer. Basically, when you take a bunch of screenshots, the game will basically skip all of the physics collisions, but it will still translate you. So it will still like apply your velocity. So if you have a velocity and you skip the frame that you collide with the wall, then you will be able to skip right through the wall. And that's screenshot clip. So having a bunch of Chrome tabs open helps with that because it helps lag the game a bit more on those screenshots. And in this case, I also have my screenshot bound to scroll up. So whenever I scroll up, I take a bunch of screenshots, and that usually helps with consistency. And then I'm going to build a moon pool. So this partially constructed moon pool, basically, I can build it here because I built that base piece above it. It basically will latch onto that grid, and it will allow it to be built anywhere in that grid, even if that place is out of bounds, even when there's no ground beneath it. So the second side effect of constructing that little base piece up there is that it puts air in this moon pool. See, when you normally partly construct a moon pool, you can swim inside of it, no problem. But when you have an established base, and then you put a moon pool as part of that grid, a partially constructed moon pool, it will gain the air instantly. That's because you already have a base established, so there's a pocket of air already. And that allows us to water despawn. So basically what happens is when I swim up into this moon pool, I get air. And I can also deconstruct the moon pool while I'm in the moon pool. So I go up into the air and then deconstruct the air. And that has a very interesting effect because when I go into the moon pool, I cross a water to air transition. So the game applies the ground motor to me and also gives me gravity. And then when I deconstruct the moon pool, that water to air transition no longer exists. So when I fall back out, there's no transition that tells me, oh, we should not apply gravity anymore. So then I just begin to fall very, very, very far. And this is the best way to reach the lava lakes because falling is 50 meters a second at terminal velocity and super sea glide is 25 at terminal velocity. So this is faster than one of the easiest, fastest way to get down. You're going to see I activate my flares or my ghost storage here to grab the flares, and I also just rebind a bunch of things. And you can see I'm also moving in a specific direction. That's to get me even closer to the lava lakes. And eventually I'm going to take out a moon pool. And I do this for a very specific reason. You'll see it in a few hundred meters, around 1300. So this moon pool, what is happening with it? Well, it's actually placed on top of the map, out of bounds. And you can do that because the ceiling technically counts as a floor, so you can place a moon pool on it. It's a very interesting thing. And this allows us to stay out of bounds. Normally, if we were to fall back inbounds, we could do another screenshot clip to get back out, but the less screenshot clips we have to do, the better, because they're wildly inconsistent. So building this moon pool out of bounds will allow me to get super sea glide and swim in the next section super fast. So I'm going to build a moon pool and then build a hatch. This hatch will allow me to get water back. Remember, the game still thinks I'm in a base because I haven't gone back out of the base according to it. I haven't hit that water to air transition or air to water transition. So the game still thinks I'm in a base. So when I click on this hatch, I'm going to get warped into the base and then out. And I'm going to flood it. And this sets up Super Sea Glide. So Super Sea Glide is a very complicated glitch, but we can think about it like this. The game basically has two main ways that it moves the player. It either moves the player with underwater physics or it moves it with ground physics, basically depending on where you are. If you're on an island, obviously you're going to have ground physics. If you're in the water in any part of the game, then you're going to have water physics. So when I go into this base, I'm going to gain ground physics. And that applies gravity to me and all of that stuff. And it also gives me the ground motor, which determines how I move. Now, when I go out of this base, the game gets really confused as to which motor to apply because it's flooded. And when I leave the base, I'm still going to have the ground motor. And that allows me to do some very interesting things. I'm still going to have gravity, or not have gravity, but I'm still going to have the ground motor. So what that does is, well, we have to understand how the Sea Glide works. The Sea Glide usually goes at a max speed of 9 meters per second. And that is because the Sea Glide has like a upper bound and then the game puts on a bunch of penalties basically for being underwater and having an underwater motor. But when you get rid of that and have the ground motor, the game doesn't apply that because it doesn't think you should move with the Sea Glide on the ground. So the game has no basically way to stop you from going really fast with the Sea Glide. It applies no penalties. So you'll go the max speed that the Sea Glide can go, which is 25 meters per second. And the reason we think it's 25 meters per second, just a side note, is because in development, there was a item called the Power Glide. And the Power Glide was a more powerful version of the Sea Glide. And it was set to go at 25 meters per second. And at the end of the day, they ended up removing it because it allowed people to slightly clip through the ground whenever they ran into the ground. And it was like a bug that they couldn't work out, so they just decided to remove it. I'm sure there were probably other reasons, but that was that's the main one I've heard. And we actually can see that bug, even still, with the Sea Glide, Super Sea Glide. We can actually still partly clip through everything. And you'll see that come into play, actually, in a second. So now we're going to go down one of the pillars. That's one of the pillars that connects the ceiling to the floor and head into the PCF. So we have Super Sea Glide, so we're moving super fast. And in this section, we need to grab 2 ion cubes and cure or hatch the babies. So for this one, on the initial ion cube grab, it gives you about a 3 to 4 second animation. And animations take a while, and it doesn't allow you to use your Sea Glide in the middle of it. So we want to basically skip that. How we're going to do that is by deploying this floater. So whenever you release a floater, it has an animation. And whenever you start an animation, it starts an animation timer. Now, if you start another animation during the time where you're starting this animation, your animation timer doesn't actually reset for the new animation. It keeps going with the old animation. And when that animation timer stops, you'll be able to use your items, even though there's another animation going on. So you can see I abuse that here in order to use my Sea Glide a little faster. We're going to go up to here. There's a second ion cube up here. We got to grab. We have to have 2 because we have to activate the incubator and then activate the portal. You can see I have a bit of bad movement in there. I slam into the ground. That really annoyed me when I was doing this run. So we go over here and do this little thing. And whenever you hatch the babies are already outside, even though there's a cutscene for them. Here's where we're going to abuse the slightly through the ground thing. So normally, in normal gameplay, Big Mama has to be like going around and will blow away that sand for you. But you can see we haven't actually triggered Big Mama because we did not come in here the normal way. So she's still just like this. This is how she looks whenever whenever you don't come in the normal way. So we have to kind of figure out a way to trigger it ourselves. And you can do that by partially clipping through the sand. And that allows you to see the prompt to activate the ion cube or activate the portal. And you can place it in there despite there being the sand there. So that's really funny. Another little side note is that these portal times are actually removed from the final time since they are technically load times. And there's a couple reasons we don't do it in survival, but it's kind of complicated. I won't get into it now. So we can cure right now, but we actually don't want to. We actually want to start building the rocket. And the reason for that is because the rocket has 5 stages. You have to build the initial platform, and then it has 4 stages of additional development. And each of those takes about 30 seconds. So normally in the old Creative Any Percent run, we would build the rocket and then go into cure and then go up and build the 4 stages. And that takes a lot of time. There are a lot of other things we can be doing during those 30 seconds that we get. So what we're going to do is, in order to get back and forth between the things we need to do, we need to build the rocket underwater. So we're going to do that. So we're going to partially build a moon pool. And then, boom. This kind of contradicts what I said earlier, but for some reason the mobile vehicle bay kind of changes how moon pools work. It's very weird. But whenever you have this mobile vehicle bay and you deploy it, in this. Oh wait, no, it doesn't contradict what I said earlier. No, it's totally fine. Um, this mobile vehicle bay gets stuck because it thinks there should be a transition zone here. There's not actually one yet, but never mind that. It thinks there is one, even though there isn't one. So the water to air transition from a moon pool. So it thinks it should like hover like this, but it shouldn't. And then I will fully construct the moon pool. And the reason I'm doing it in this order, the partially construct and then deploy and then fully construct, is because the mobile vehicle bay has this really annoying soft lock if you try to activate it too fast after you deploy it. So if you deploy it and then instantly like activate it, you will just soft lock. You'll get like stuck in it for some reason. And that's really annoying. I've ended far too many runs like that. So what I do is I partially build this moon pool and then deploy it and fully build the moon pool, and that allows the water to air transition to be there for me. And then, excuse me. And it also allows me to wait out the time that I would normally have to wait in order to prevent myself from soft locking. So I'm going to do that and then go and use the vehicle bay. Now, why can we do this? Well, the mobile vehicle bay only checks for a few things. It checks if it's at a water to air transition, and if it is, then you can use it. And this makes for some very interesting things that can happen. Basically, the game incorrectly assumes that whenever you're at that water to air transition, it assumes you're at the surface. But that's not always true, and we abuse that here with the moon pool because it has a water to air transition. So that allows us to build the rocket underwater like this. Now, the rocket will go and float up towards the sky, so we need to lock it down. And we do that with just a few moon pools. And that the rocket will just get lodged up against the moon pools and basically not be able to move. So now we're going to go over towards the QEP thing here that we have to deactivate later and build a moon pool. So we can get Super Sea Glide, we can flood it, and then head back and construct the first stage of it. So that's our first 30 seconds that we've used for something, and now we're going to use this next. This is actually 35 seconds for the first stage. We're going to use that to construct or cure ourselves and grab the mobile vehicle bay, which is sitting over there. The cure cutscene is 23 seconds, and we used to do it as soon as we got out of the portal, but if you overlap it, you just save all of that time. And AJ came up with that strat. What a genius. We're going to build the next stage. My rocket's going to wobble a little bit. That's because the physics is a bit janky. And now we're going to go over to the QEP. So, we're going to do something called QEP clip here. I don't even know why this is possible. It's only possible in September 2018 patch. But basically, when you get up and next to the ceiling and wall here, and you deploy the mobile vehicle bay, the game just lets you through the wall. And I think it's because when the mobile vehicle bay deploys in the wall, it actually wants to be kicked backwards, and then it basically collides with you in such a way that it lets you through the wall. But that doesn't really make sense because you can see my mobile vehicle bay go out in front there. And I think the reason it does that is because the mobile vehicle bay is in a ceiling, so it reverses its direction then back out into the wall. So now it's just a mobile vehicle bay in the wall. Again, we're not really sure why it works. We're just abusing some weird collision. But that lets us out of bounds, and we still have water. So we're going to swim all the way to the top. And again, we're using Super Sea Glide here. It's 25 meters per second. It's a lot faster than we can walk. And now we're swimming in this area. This area is usually air. But because we haven't crossed an air-to-water transition, the game thinks we should still be swimming. So we're just going to swim in this area while this cutscene plays. So, I have that, and then, also the ceiling up here. The game doesn't think that you're going to be colliding with the ceiling, so it just doesn't have collision. Yeah, it doesn't really expect you to be swimming. And then we're going to do a clip back out. And this happens whenever there's a water-to-air transition in an alien base. The game gets very, very confused with how these should interact with with the player. And usually in all of the water to air transitions, there's some janky stuff you can do. In this water to air, we have gun clip, which is the other clip to get out of bounds here, but that one doesn't retain super sea glide, so we don't want to use that. And then there's like what's the one, PCF clip, where you just clip out of bounds using the water to air transition of the PCF. We don't really know why. Again, the game has this weirdness when it comes to the water air and alien bases, but we know it does. It only happens on the September 2018 patch, so that's the patch I'm running on. And I get a really good clip there because I retain a lot of momentum coming out. So we go back up and we get Super Sea Glide, and then I construct the third stage of the rocket. And this third stage has a very interesting property. See, the third stage contains the first part that you can actually walk in. And that part has 3 levers in it that you have to activate in order to get the rocket going. So I need to go up and activate those switches. Well, see, the thing is, whenever the rocket's building, everything is actually fully tangible and interactable. It's just undergoing a little animation. So you can still actually come in here and throw these switches. Now I'm using animation overlaps again, using these flares in order to skip the lever animations, and that allows me to get back down to the platform a little bit faster. So now I'm going to talk about this next part. This part is very finicky. Now, the game has like a bubble of air that surrounds the rocket here. I don't really know why it does, but we know it does, and we kind of have to play around it. So normally you'd have water in this area, but the rocket has air in it, so we need to kind of work around it. The air kind of goes around the main part of the rocket, so as soon as we step far enough away from the rocket, we'll get our water back, but we don't want to cross this line right here. And the reason for that is that this line has a trigger which closes the door. And we don't want to do the door opening animation again. We want to do it once. So we need to get water back before this line. Well, if you jump out and screenshot a bunch, you get water back. And the reason for that is we think that the screenshots carry you a bit higher than you would than a normal jump. And also the screenshots will update the game around you, kind of, I think. Again, it's one of those things, we don't quite know why, but it does give us water back, and we keep that door open. So we're going to go grab Super Sea Glide, and the rest of this run is pretty straightforward. We build the 4th stage, and head back up into the final part of the rocket, and use the ladder to get up, because you can't actually get up to the final stage without it. And then there's only 2 things you need to interact with. The time capsule you don't even need to interact with before you actually, before you leave. You can just leave it and it'll still be fine. And again, all these things are fully tangible while the rocket's building, and you can launch it. Boom, there you go. And that's your run. And that's how creative percent is down to 5 minutes and 21 seconds RTA. I think it's 5:11 for in-game time. And obviously this run has a few optimizations. We can do a bit better movement. But this was a really good run. I just feel very, very confident about it. It's definitely probably one of my more proud achievements. That's kind of why I have it on top of my speedrunning profile. So yeah, that's it for this one. If you're wondering where the rest of the videos are, I'm a little hesitant to get back into the Subnautica grind right now. I'm kind of taking my time with it. But I am working on the sub 130 100% run. We know it's possible. In fact, we've pretty much done it already, but we've missed like 1 or 2 scans every single time. So I'm working on that. And I'll have it eventually, I know. But other than that, yeah, that's it for this one. And I appreciate you sticking with me and learning about some weird Subnautica stuff together. If you have any questions, by the way, you can leave them down in the comments, and I'll be sure to look over those and maybe answer them. We'll see. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.